Alright, hello everyone. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Wait, we don't even need this slide anymore, but anyways, welcome to week 6 of Web Design Decal. This is new for all of us, doing webcasts and stuff like that, so please bear with us as we're trying to figure things out with like uploading to YouTube and stuff like that. But the good side is that you can watch this at any time now at your convenience. So yeah, just a couple announcements before we get started. First of all, just don't come to class. As you could probably tell already, we're doing webcasts now or pre-recorded. So there's no one's gonna be in Jacobs during normal class time. So you'll probably be the only one there. So that's just like updates with the virus thing situation right now. So hopefully everyone's staying safe, staying clean, wash your hands as usual, wear a mask. Yeah, and then also homework 5 is due today, probably by now. And then we're gonna release homework 6 soon. If not, it's already released already. Group project, we're done with check-ins. The actual code stuff, the website is due in the next week. So it's due next week, Tuesday at midnight. So please manage your time wisely now that classes are all online. Yeah, so I know a lot of you guys started, so good jobs to those people. But yeah, submission will be through the portal and also the link on the Google Forms. So only one person needs to do both of those. And then as usual, there's office hours and feedback. Some office hours have been moved to online. Just make sure you double check with your TA or some staff. But yeah, let's just get started. So this week I'm gonna be talking about CSS Animations with you guys. I know you guys are dying to start JavaScript soon, but please bear with us. CSS Animations is actually really cool, and it adds a ton of more pizzazz to your websites than what you guys can actually make right now. So, and I guarantee you this stuff will be used on your final project too. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So with animations, we can create really nice dynamic websites. Why is this GIF not playing? Oh, there we go. So right now, what that means is like right now with your knowledge, what you guys been creating so far with the group project, all these previous homeworks, we've been making static websites, which means like it's just static. Like it doesn't move or anything. It doesn't have anything special to it besides like :hover, :active, those pseudo selectors that we taught you in the beginning. Besides that, everything doesn't move and it just stays there. But once you add more animations to it, we can create really, really nice dynamic websites that like adds more pizzazz to what you guys already have. So yeah, this GIF is playing pretty slowly, but if you check out the slides, like animations can do a lot for a website. So on top of making a website dynamic, we can also effectively express our brands in a way we haven't already been done before. I think it was last week, I talked about image usage in the design lecture, and I said like image uses definitely also helps with effective expression of our brand, our identity through these websites. And I'm here to say that animations take it to a whole another level. So it adds on top of like image uses basically. So based on this website, like you can just tell like it's a really hip kind of website using like hot colors, and then with animations it like shows that it's like very, what's the word? It's very, I guess, just hip, like I really don't know what else to describe it as. But yeah, so animations, by definition, they're defined as a change of state over time, which means we have to consider different stages of it. When does it start? What is our starting state? And what is our ending state? Pretty self-explanatory. If you take a look at this GIF, this image, we have like this button. Like you've probably seen it on iPhones, like Androids. When you click this button, it plays an animation. The start state, like let's say it's airplane mode is turned off. When we click the button, it will play an animation. The starting state will be when the button's off, and then the ending state will be when the button's on, when it's like all fully green and stuff. So that's an example of an animation, and that's like the actual definition of an animation. So keep in mind, we're looking at multiple states, a starting state and an ending state. And I am here to say that all of these can be, or most of which can be done in CSS, which is pretty cool in my opinion. Like now you have something that could be jumping around on your website and like really, it will just pop, you know, like give the users a wow. So let's get into the nitty-gritty technicals of how to define CSS animations. This is the general format of defining an animation. We start off with add keyframes and whatever name you want to define it. So what you guys learned so far with CSS selectors, all you guys did was use like dot or hashtag for classes IDs, and then open curly brackets. But now we actually have to define add keyframes. Add keyframes, here's what it says. It just basically tells the browser that like, oh, this CSS selector will be a CSS animations. If you don't include this, it'll just treat it as just a regular CSS selector with whatever you define. So yeah, so remember you include at keyframes, always include the at, that matters, and then keyframes plural. And then the name, you can name it whatever. We'll go through that, a couple examples in the next couple slides. And then inside you have a ton of rules. So the rules are basically what the animation is doing, or what you're doing during the animation. And then, but this structure overall is defining the animation. So we've defined, like let's say we define the rules and we define the name, but like it won't be applied to any of the elements until we do say it explicitly in the element selector. And I'll show you how to do that later. So just remember, this is the structure. Again, add keyframes and then whatever name you want to name it. So writing rules, how do we write rules? Remember I was talking about like each animation has a starting and an end state. These are stages we have to consider when talking about an animation. So this is the stuff that we have to define. So there's two ways to writing rules in CSS. First of which is from and to. From and to, and then so that's basically means starting state from and to state the ending state. Those are two states you can define as. And yeah, so you always have to define the stages in the animation, or else the animation will not play anything. So let's say like from, we call this this animation fade in, and the from starting state will be starting at opacity 0, which means you won't be able to see it. And then the ending state 2 will have opacity 1, which means that it's like fully, you can see it on the web page. So what this basically does, like if we say like our text will fade in, apply it to fade in, when on the load of the website, it will start at 0, like you won't be able to see the text, and they'll fade into opacity 1. So that's from and to state. That's just starting and end state. But now what if we wanted to define like multiple stages, not just the start and end state? So here's another way of defining rules or stages in your animations. In this example, we're using percentages. So 0%, 50%, 100%. So 0% and 100% works just the same as from and to, but the point of using numbers now is that we can define stages in between. So now we have a midway stage. So now we have changed this to like fade in out. So it starts at 0 opacity, you can't see it. Then it fades into 1, and you can see it, but then it goes back out to nothing. So you won't be able to see the text or whatever you're applying this animation to. So this is a good way to initialize animations that have multiple stages in effect. And then if you have 2 stages, just use the from and to. So yeah, basically that's that. Another example, like let's say we wanted to move something up and down. So we define 3 stages: 0%, 50%, and 100%. First, it starts at like the bottom with 100 pixels, top 100 pixels. Then it moves up 100 pixels at 50. And then you can imagine like at the 50% stage, it would have moved up 100 pixels, and then it moves back down 100 pixels at the end. So it just goes up, down. So the starting and end state is the same. It starts and ends where it was originally. So that's another example of using animations. So at this point, like, you're probably wondering, like, we define a couple of stages, like 0%, 50%, 100%, but what about all that, like, the stages, the middle, the stuff in between that goes between 0%, 50%, and 100%? Like, don't we have to define every single percent and every single pixel that it has to move in order for the animation to, like, actually, like, do its thing and look good? I'm here to say that, like, the browser automatically tells that, like they automatically render that time in between those stages, so that you won't have to worry about what's in between. So if you take a look at this example, we have a start and end state, 0%, 100% of this person reaching down, but the middle state is like this person actually going closer towards, like, let's dive into design. And so basically this animation looks like this on the right of the screen. And the browser basically just renders everything for you. Like, it will from 0% to 50%, it will make a smooth transition into the 50% stage, and then back another smooth transition back into the end stage. So, like, don't worry about moving every single pixel, like, or every single element 1% at a time or each stage at a time. Just list out the most significant stages that the animations will include, and then the computer will do the rest for you. So yeah. So now we've basically talked about how do we define an animation in CSS, but, like, we haven't really used it yet. We haven't applied it to any element. So, like, even if we define the animations, loading the actual website would still look the same as a static website. So how do we apply it to an element that we want? So now we're using our keyframe, and basically we just put the name of the animation in the element of our choice. So now let's say we have defined the animations up down. So we want to apply up down to, let's say, this container, like this circle potato head. This circle with ID potato head, and inside there's a CSS property that says animation dash name, and that's where we put the name, like, up down of our animation. So now that we defined it, you can see, like, the circle goes up and down. That's basically how we choose to use an animation of our choice. There's also a ton of other optional adjustments that you can add. First of which is duration. Actually, this isn't optional. Duration just means, like, how long the animation will run once. So if we do up down, that means it'll take half a second to run up down fully from 0% to 100%. Yeah. So, and also S stands for seconds in this case. So for an animation to actually play, you actually need both name and duration to be set. So duration is technically not optional because it needs to know how long it will run for. Other than that, timing, function, delay, iteration count, these things are all optional by itself because they have preset default values. So remember, animation name and animation duration always have to be set before an animation will actually play. Yeah, so that's just duration, the amount of time it takes for one run of an animation. There's also speed curve. In CSS, it's called animation-timing-function. This is a little bit harder to explain. So I'll just go on to the next slide. There's this really useful website that we found. Basically, it shows examples of all like speed curves there are in the world, I guess. So this is basically telling the animation what speed to run it as. So like if you go to this website, they show a ton of different speed curves here. If you hover over each of them, you see like this dot moving at a certain speed based on the curve, right? So EaseIn sign, you can see like it starts off slow, the speed starts off slow, then it starts picking up the pace. So starts off slow, goes faster. On the other hand, we have ease out sign, starts fast, and then it like starts slowing down towards the top. These are what speed curves are. There's a ton of these, like ease in out sign, starts slow, goes fast, then slows down again. Or like you can play around with any of these. These are like speed curves to basically tell the animation or give like some personality to animations, which we'll be trying out in a example later on at the end of this lecture. So what's even cooler about these websites, let's say I wanted to use ease out in outside, you click on it and then like they give you the CSS to replicate the whole like speed curve through like transforms 0.6 seconds, blah 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 blah. Don't like I wouldn't really worry about what cubic Bezier, however you pronounce it. I wouldn't worry about that. Honestly, you just need to copy this line and then you can replicate all these like different speed curves here. So yeah, that's all these speed curves defined. So definitely check out this website because it's a great resource. Yeah, now we'll just jump back into our thing. So like I said, speed curves, some of them are already predefined, like ease-in will already be defined, so you won't need to specify like, oh, transition, like blah, 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 cubic Bezier, something. So this makes it easier for you to define speed curves. That's just timing functions, basically. The next thing is delay, which is also used in seconds or milliseconds, nanoseconds, whatever. So delay is basically saying when the website is loaded up, wait this amount of seconds. So in this case, we define 0 seconds, which means there's no delay. The moment our website loads, this animation up-down will play. You don't even need to define this if you don't want to delay, because by default, delay is already set to 0 seconds. If you want to delay it a certain amount of time, then you'll apply a different number. Like let's say I wanted a delay of 5 seconds, then I'll do animation dash delay colon 5s semicolon. And then on the web, when we load the website, it will wait 5 seconds and then it'll play up down for a potato head. So that's just basically delay. There's also play iterations, so iteration count, animation dash iteration dash count, which means how many times this animation will play in total. In this case, we said 2. There's no metric for this, so just 2 is fine. So yeah, this up down will play twice and then it'll stop. There's also, it goes from like 0. I don't know why you would say 0, cause if you want to use animations, you'd at least say 1, like 1 to infinity. So there's actually a word for infinite. So you just say animation dash iteration dash count colon the word infinite, and it'll play forever, however long you're on that site. So yeah, that's play iteration count. Also, lastly, there is direction, which means like which stage comes first. So in this case, if we say animation dash direction reverse, then we'll do up down backwards. So we'll start at the ending state and then go on to the starting state. So we'll start at 100%, the stage at 100%, and then we'll go to 0%. So we'll just play the animation backwards. I guess for up down it doesn't really matter since we're starting and ending at the same state. But let's say we want to play it backwards, like we'll just call reverse. By default, it's already set to like forward, which means like, or not forward, it's like just none. So it just plays from 0% to 100%. So you wouldn't need to say like forwards or something like that in order to play it normally. So yeah. So if you're also a minimalist or simple person like me and very lazy to type out all these like 6 things line for line, you can put this in one line. It's pretty simple actually. So you just say animation and then all these different properties. So it goes in a specific order. So it goes name, duration, speed curve, delay, iteration count, then direction. So yeah, so sometimes you don't even need to add all of these. Like let's say you don't want to add a delay. You could just take this out and say up down 0.5 seconds, ease in, to reverse without the 0s, and it'll still render properly. So, but make sure it's still in this order. Some things you won't need to add, but keep in mind you do need to have duration and name set in order for an animation to run. So at least these first 2 have to be here. Like all these other things do not need to be there. So yeah, again, some things you don't need to add in, like EaseIn doesn't have to be in there either. So yeah, that's the shorthand for animations. There's also stop in final state. So without this, what animations basically does, it will play and then it will go back to its original state. Let's say like we have an animation that just moves something up from from and to. So from starts at like a 0 position, and then we move it up like 100 pixels. But we also want it to stay in that ending state. Without this CSS property, animation fill mode forwards, it will go back to its original state after playing the animations. But to leave it as is, as the ending state, the 100% state, we have to specifically state animation dash fill dash mode forwards, which means it'll end at the ending state. And then I think there's another one for reverse, which means end at the starting state, which I'm pretty sure what it does. Yeah. So that's basically to stop an animation at the final state for forwards, actually. So, yeah. So now we've taught you two cool UI things like transitions and animations. We taught you pseudo selectors, which is like responding to a user's action. You've played like with like :hover, :active, :visited, these like pseudo selectors that you all use through homeworks and like your group project. These all respond to a user's action, and they use the transition property. If you played around with the transition property, you're using that to determine the time, speed curve, and the pseudo selector for states. And again, it's responding to a user's action. So you have to hover over something in order to see a change. On the other hand, for animations with keyframes, this is continuous and automatically instigated. So on a website load, animations will play. You don't need to hover. You don't need to like click on anything. I mean, you could, but like without those definitions, it would just play by itself. No, it's not responding to any user action besides the web page loading by itself. Yeah, so this does not depend on user states, and there's more control over animation timeframes because we can specifically state like which stages have what changes to it, and we can have like multiple stages for one animation. So again, we have our examples here with : hover, and then how we specify animations and like how we select them basically. So those are the difference between pseudo selectors and keyframes, both of which are great UI additions to add to your websites because they make your websites pop a little bit more. And then when the users see it, they're like, wow, like that's pretty cool, you know, like, yeah. So it adds a little bit more pizzazz. So now I have this little demo for you guys. I'll just walk through it. Please walk through this while I'm going through this too. So yeah, this is on JSBin. Pause the video if you have to in order for the thing to load. But yeah, so this is actually, we got this last semester. We got this last semester. We want to make this pumpkin bounce. Because when I taught this lecture last semester, it was like, I think the week of Halloween. So yeah, I made a pumpkin and I just didn't change it back, I guess. So don't worry about the HTML for now. That's fine. You don't have to make any changes to here. Just look at the comments. I definitely recommend you do it before I walk you through it. So like pause the video if you have to, do it, try it yourself, and then check your answers with what I do. That helps the most with learning how to do CSS animations. So yeah, so hopefully you guys did it at this point, and let's just walk through it. So first things first, we want to do, let's say, make a keyframe for the bouncing pumpkin by translating its Y value of -200 pixels to 30 pixels. So again, we want to define, add keyframes. I don't know why I did that, but add keyframes, let's say like bounce. Let's name it whatever, bounce. And we have two states. We're just translating its Y value. So we could just use from to in this case, from and to. But what do we have to do in here? Like we have to make this pumpkin bounce a value of -200 pixels to 30 pixels. So if I remember correctly, we have to use translate its Y value of -200 pixels to 30 pixels. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we just add transform translate Y, and then 200 pixels to 30 pixels. 30 pixels? oh, sorry, this should be like negative 200. And then the to state will be the same thing. We could just copy that and then we'll just make it 30 pixels, I think. I hope. And then we'll just get to the pumpkin part. We'll just try to make it bounce for now. So it says use the animation property with 0.5 seconds duration, EaseIn timing function, no delay, repeats infinitely, and alternates. So let's see. So I want to say animation. I want to do it all in one line because I'm a simple person. First thing comes first, name. So we say bounce, which is the name of my thing. So notice how now, like I say bounce, like again, like it's not going to do anything because we haven't defined a duration yet. So again, we always have to apply the name plus the duration in order for an animation to work. So let's say 0.5 seconds because that's what it said. So now we do 0.5 seconds. Why is it not running? Run with JS. Ah, there you go. See, like it goes once, the animation. Yeah, so it runs. So now we also have an EaseIn timing function, EaseIn. We just say EaseIn. Whoa. And then we do no delay, 0 seconds, or honestly, you don't even need to put that. Repeats infinite, which we say infinite. And then, whoa, see, like it's just dropping. It's like teleporting. And then it alternates. So we say alternate. Wow, like cool. Like this thing is bouncing now. So like I want to emphasize the importance of a timing function. Like I said, these speed curves are very important when you do this. So notice how the the pumpkin like sort of slows down when it reaches its highest point, right? By default, without EaseIn, this thing will be linear. Like notice how like linear looks different than like EaseIn. Like it doesn't obey the laws of physics for this pumpkin. You know, like linear just looks like it shouldn't be bouncing like this. So that's why we use a specific time curve EaseIn. So now it actually looks like it's bouncing. It speeds up the pumpkin speeds up when it's falling and it slows down when it reaches its max height. That's how physics works. Yeah, I mean I almost failed physics, but I'm sure that physics works like this. So yeah. So that's why we use EaseIn function. So now we have to change the shadow too. Like physics wise, like shadows also have to like change size based on your location, like your distance from the ground. Yes, physics. So now let's say make a keyframe animation for the shadow. It should scale to half its size when the pumpkin is closest to the ground and vice versa. So yeah, let's just define our keyframes. I don't know what, wow. Let's say, I don't know, what should we call this? We'll call this like change size. I'm very unoriginal with these names, but there's also, so again for this, there's only two states. So I could do the from and to. I'm gonna just do 0% and 100% just for usage purposes, just to show you guys like it doesn't matter what you use. 0% and 100% are both the same as from and to. So 0% we start off with like I think let's see how physics works. If the pumpkin is at its highest point, the shadow should be smallest. I think. I really hope so. Transform scale like 0.5. And then once it reaches the ground, it should be fully scaled. Wow, I really hope I'm getting this right. Oh, why am I running? Oh yeah, so okay, so we've defined the keyframes animations change size. Let's just basically, we have to call it now because we haven't applied it anywhere. We just defined change size and that's it. So here it says for shadow, selector, use the animation with same properties as pumpkin. So let's do animation again. But this time I don't want to call bounce because it's different. I don't want the shadow to bounce. That doesn't make sense. I called change size and then same properties. So 0.5 seconds. EaseIn again. 0 seconds delay. Make it go infinitely. So it kind of looks like it, but we have to alternate again. Is it not? Oh, there you go. Yeah. So this is cool. You know, like this is like a legit animation of a pumpkin, like bouncing up and down. Even like the shadow is corresponding to like the height of the pumpkin. You know how physics works. Yes, I'm pretty sure this is how physics works. Yeah. So if you're wondering what alternate does, you probably could guess by now. Like we define alternate, sorry. But basically it says go back and forth between our two states. So we go start at 0%, then go to 100%, then back into, so from 100%, then we go back into 0%. So if you could imagine, if we had like more states in between 0, 50, 100, then it would go 0, 50, 100, 50, 0, 50, 100 for as many times we like loop through this animation. So yeah, hopefully you guys learned a lot from this lecture, this CSS Animations lecture, and learned a lot from this specific demo. And honestly, I find this really cool because like it makes a lot of our websites really nice looking, and I hope you will apply it to our your guys' websites on the homework and the websites in the future. Oh, also, I forgot to mention, you can apply multiple animations to one element. That's just separated by a comma. So like if I wanted to apply also like change size to this, I just comma change size, and then the same like things, 0.5 seconds. I don't know if that would do anything. Whoa. So you could kind of see like, let me just say infinite. Okay, no, that doesn't look that great. But yeah, the idea is like you can apply multiple animations to one selector, and you'll be doing this in your homework probably this week. So yeah, here's the solutions at the bottom of the slides if you need it. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this style of lectures. It's honestly been a while since we did this. The last time we did a webcast for web design decal was like 2014, I guess, which is crazy. So if this hinders your learning in any way at all, like please let us know ASAP and we'll try our best to accommodate your situation. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this style of lecturing. Let us know if we can improve anything. And as always, if you have any questions, definitely just like email us anytime as usual. So yeah, that's CSS Animations. Thank you guys for watching.